Lisa Martinez sat on the cold metal floor of Recreation Base 7, carefully shaping a piece of wood with her knife. Around her, the UES Discovery hummed with the quiet sounds of deep space travel. 200 of Earth's smartest people lived on this ship, heading toward a new world that would become humanity's first colony outside the solar system. Lisa often wondered why she was among them. The wood in her hands was just a scrap from the maintenance department, but she was turning it into something useful: fire-making tools. Her grandmother had taught her this skill when she was 12 years old during summer camping trips in the Rocky Mountains. Back then, Lisa never imagined she would need these old skills on a spaceship filled with fusion reactors and quantum computers. Still playing with sticks, I see. Lisa looked up to find Dr. Amanda Phillips standing in the doorway. Amanda was her bunkmate and one of the ship's top scientists. She studied stars and how they formed. Her work was so advanced that Lisa could barely understand the titles of Amanda's research papers. "Just keeping my hands busy," Lisa said, continuing to work on the wood. Amanda walked closer and sat down on one of the exercise benches. "You know, we're going to have matter replicators on the new planet. We won't need to make fire with sticks." Smiled, but didn't look up from her work. "Technology fails sometimes. Not our technology," Amanda said with confidence. "The equipment we're taking has been tested for decades. Everything has backup systems, and backup systems for the backup systems." This was an old argument between them. Amanda believed that human intelligence and advanced technology could solve any problem. Lisa believed that basic skills and practical knowledge mattered just as much. They had talked about this many times during the 6 months of their journey. "Read your file," Amanda continued. "Bachelor's degree in environmental science. Some wilderness training courses. I'm still not sure why they picked you for this mission when they could have chosen another physicist or engineer." Lisa finally looked up. Amanda's words stung, but she had heard similar comments from others on the ship. Most of the colonists had advanced degrees from famous universities. They were experts in complicated fields like quantum mechanics, genetic engineering, and artificial intelligence. Lisa's knowledge seemed simple in comparison. "Maybe they thought we might need someone who knows about living outdoors," Lisa said quietly. Amanda laughed. "On a planet where we're building a high-tech colony, we'll have climate-controlled buildings, automated farming systems, and robots to handle dangerous work. Your camping skills are nice, but they're not really needed." The conversation was interrupted by an announcement over the ship's communication system. "All colonists report to main assembly hall for the daily briefing." Lisa and Amanda walked together through the ship's corridors. The Discovery was huge, almost like a small city. It had laboratories, workshops, living quarters, and recreational areas. The ship's artificial gravity made everything feel normal. Even though they were traveling between stars at incredible speed, the main assembly hall was already full when they arrived. Dr. Richard Kane stood at the front, ready to give his daily presentation. Dr. Kane was the mission's chief scientist and the unofficial leader of all the colonists. He was a brilliant man who had written books about space exploration and colony planning. "Good morning, everyone," Dr. Kane began. "I'm pleased to report that we are now only 3 weeks away from reaching Kepler 44c, our new home."
Oh.
Filled with excited murmurs, everyone had been waiting for this moment. After months of travel, they were finally close to their destination. Dr. Kane activated a holographic display that showed their target planet. Kepler 442c looked beautiful from space. It was covered with blue oceans, white clouds, and green continents. The planet was slightly larger than Earth and had a breathable atmosphere. "As you can see, our new world is everything we hoped for," Dr. Kane continued. "The atmosphere is 21% oxygen, just like Earth. The temperature is comfortable. There are large freshwater lakes and rivers. Our orbital scans show no signs of intelligent life, and the native plants and animals appear to be harmless." Lisa listened carefully to the briefing, but something bothered her. The scans were taken from space, thousands of miles above the planet's surface. How could they be sure about what was really down there? "Our landing will be completely automated," Dr. Kane explained. "The ship's computers will select the best location and guide us down safely. Within hours of landing, we'll have our first temporary shelter set up. Within days, we'll have power generators running and basic facilities operating. A colonist in the front row raised his hand. What if something goes wrong with the landing? Dr. Kane smiled confidently. The landing system has been tested hundreds of times. It's completely reliable. Even if one system fails, we have multiple backups. There's really nothing to worry about. After the briefing, Lisa walked back to her quarters with Amanda. Past groups of colonists discussing the upcoming landing with excitement. Everyone seemed confident that everything would go perfectly, Amanda said. We have everything planned out. Advanced technology, careful preparation, brilliant minds working together. What could go wrong? Lisa nodded, but she still felt uneasy. In her experience, things rarely went according to plan in the wilderness. Nature was unpredictable. It didn't care how smart you were or how good your equipment was. It tested you in ways you never expected. That night, Lisa lay in her bunk thinking about the planet below. In 3 weeks, they would all be living in a completely alien environment. She hoped Dr. Kane was right about everything going smoothly, but deep down, she knew that hope was not enough. When you were far from help and surrounded by the unknown, survival depended on more than just hope and technology. She reached under her pillow and touched the fire-making tools she had crafted. They were simple things, made from wood and metal, scraps. But they were tools she could count on, tools that would work even if everything else failed. 3 weeks later, Lisa would be very glad she had made them. The alarm screamed through the Discovery at 4 a.m. ship time. Lisa jerked awake in her bunk as red emergency lights flashed on and off. Amanda was already sitting up, looking confused and frightened. All colonists, 2 emergency stations. Immediately came the announcement over the communication system. The captain's voice sounded tense. This is not a drill. Pete, this is not a drill. Lisa grabbed her emergency pack from under her bed. She had packed it herself with basic survival items, ignoring the official supply list that focused on electronic devices and scientific instruments. Amanda scrambled to find her regulation emergency kit, which was still in its original packaging. They rushed through the corridors with hundreds of other colonists. Everyone was asking questions, but no one had answers. The ship was shaking now. Lisa could hear strange humming sounds coming from the walls. In the main assembly hall, Dr. Kane stood at the front, looking pale and worried. Captain Morris, the ship's commander, stood beside him with a grim expression. We have encountered an unexpected problem, Captain Morris announced. The planet is generating some kind of electromagnetic field that our sensors could not detect from a distance. This field is interfering with our ship's systems. The hall erupted in worried voices. People were asking if they could turn around and go back to Earth. Others wanted to know if the ship was safe. Captain Morris raised his hand for quiet. Cannot return to Earth. We do not have enough fuel for the return journey. We must land on the planet, but our automated landing system is not working properly. Dr. Kane stepped forward. I want everyone to remain calm. Our engineers are working on the problem. We have backup systems and manual controls. We will land safely and establish our colony as planned. But Lisa could see the fear in his eyes. She had spent enough time in dangerous situations to recognize when someone was trying to sound confident while feeling terrified inside. The ship shuddered again, more violently this time. Several people fell down as the artificial gravity flickered, on and off. Everyone return to your quarters and prepare for emergency landing procedures, Captain Morris ordered. Secure all loose items and get into your crash harnesses. Lisa and Amanda ran back to their room. Around them, other colonists were panicking. Some were crying. Others were arguing about what they should do. Few were trying to call their families on Earth, even though the communication systems were not working. This can't be happening, Amanda said as she strapped herself into her crash harness. The computers said the planet was safe. All the scans showed normal conditions. Lisa checked her emergency pack one more time. She had a knife, fire-starting materials, water purification tablets, basic medical supplies, and some high-energy food bars. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. Scans from space can miss things, Lisa said. Sometimes you have to be on the ground to know what's really there. The ship shook harder. Through their small window, Lisa could see the planet getting bigger. It looked beautiful with its green forests and blue rivers, but beauty could be dangerous. She had learned that lesson in the wilderness many times. The final approach was terrifying. The ship was spinning slowly as it fell through the planet's atmosphere. The electromagnetic field was getting stronger and more systems were failing. The lights went out completely, leaving them in darkness except for the faint glow of emergency strips along the floor. Lisa heard Dr. Kane's voice over the failing communication system. Brace for impact. Brace for impact. The crash came in stages. First, the ship hit the tops of tall trees, breaking branches and tearing through leaves. Then it hit the ground hard, bouncing and sliding across the forest floor. Lisa felt like she was inside a giant rock tumbler, being thrown around despite her safety harness. The noise was incredible. Metal screamed against rock and wood. Something exploded in another part of the ship. Then suddenly, everything was quiet. Lisa hung upside down in her harness, blood dripping from a cut on her forehead. Amanda was unconscious but breathing. Through their cracked window, Lisa could see alien trees and strange purple grass. She unbuckled herself carefully and dropped to what used to be the ceiling. Her emergency pack had stayed secure, which was good. She checked Amanda's pulse and breathing. Both were normal, so she was probably just knocked out. Lisa tried the door, but it was jammed. She used her knife to pry open the emergency panel and manually open the door. The corridor outside was a mess. Debris was everywhere. Several doors had been torn off their hinges. She could hear voices calling for help from different parts of the ship. Some people were trapped. The ship's power was completely dead, and the air smelled of smoke and burned electronics. Lisa helped Amanda wake up, then they made their way toward the assembly hall. Other survivors were gathering there, looking shocked and frightened.
Hey, Lisa.
Counted only 13 people, including herself and Amanda. She wondered how many others were trapped in other parts of the ship. Dr. Kane was there, holding a bloody cloth against a cut on his arm. Captain Maurice was missing. Lisa hoped he was just trapped somewhere and not worse. The ship is broken beyond repair, Dr. Kane announced to the small group. Most of our equipment is not working. The electromagnetic field from this planet is too strong. A woman named Betty started crying. What are we going to do? How will we survive? Dr. Kane tried to sound confident again. We'll wait for rescue. Earth will send another ship when we don't report in as scheduled. Lisa looked around at the group. Most of them were scientists and engineers who had spent their lives in laboratories and classrooms. They were smart people, but they looked lost and helpless in this situation. That could take years, Lisa said quietly. We need to focus on surviving right now. Dr. Kane looked at her with irritation. We just need to stay together and wait. We have emergency rations for several weeks. Lisa walked to the broken window and looked outside. The sun was setting, and the alien forest was getting dark. She could hear strange sounds in the distance. Animal calls, maybe, or something else. We need to find the other survivors, she said, and we need to find shelter and water. This ship isn't safe to stay in? Amanda stood beside her at the window. Maybe Lisa is right. We can't just sit here and hope for rescue. Dr. Kane shook his head. We're scientists, not cavemen. We'll use our intelligence to solve this problem. But as darkness fell on their first night on the alien planet, Lisa wondered if intelligence alone would be enough to keep them alive. 3 days after the crash, Dr. Kane was still insisting they should stay near the ship and wait for rescue. 3 days after the crash, 2 people were already dead. Lisa knelt by the stream she had found half a mile from the wreckage, filling water bottles and dropping purification tablets into each one. The tablets were from her personal emergency kit. Official ship supplies included electronic water purifiers that no longer worked because of the planet's electromagnetic field. Behind her, Amanda sat on a fallen log, holding her bandaged arm close to her body. The cut was getting infected despite the antibiotic cream from the medical supplies. They were running out of medicine fast. The water tastes terrible with those tablets, Amanda complained. Better than dying from alien bacteria, Lisa replied, capping another bottle. Drink it anyway. Back at the ship, the other survivors were arguing again. Lisa could hear their voices carrying through the strange purple trees. Dr. Kane wanted everyone to stay put and ration their food. A man named Paul wanted to explore and look for other survivor groups. Betty wanted to try fixing the radio equipment. Lisa had tried to explain that none of their electronic equipment would work while the planet's electromagnetic field was active. She had also tried to explain that their food supplies would only last another week, maybe 2 if they were careful. But most of the group still believed their technology and planning would save them. "We should have listened to you from the beginning," Amanda said quietly. Lisa looked at her friend. Amanda had lost weight in just 3 days. They all had. The emergency rations were not enough food for people doing physical work, and everyone was stressed and frightened. "It's not about being right," Lisa said. "It's about staying alive." A scream echoed through the forest from the direction of the ship. Lisa grabbed her knife and ran toward the sound. With Amanda following behind as fast as she could manage, they found the group scattered around the crash site, pointing at something in the trees. Paul was on the ground, blood soaking through his shirt. Standing over him was Dr. Kane, holding a piece of metal pipe like a weapon. "What happened?" Lisa demanded. "Something attacked Paul," Dr. Kane said, his voice shaking. "It came out of the trees. It looked like a big cat, but with 6 legs and blue fur." Lisa knelt beside Paul and checked his wounds. 3 deep claw marks ran across his chest. Cuts were bleeding heavily, but they had missed any vital organs. She pressed her emergency bandages against the wounds to stop the bleeding. "Where did it go?" she asked. "Back into the forest," Betty said. "It ran when Richard scared it away." Lisa looked around at the group. 13 people had survived the crash. Now they were down to 11. One person had died from internal injuries on the first day. Another had fallen from the ship while trying to repair equipment and broken his neck. Now Paul was seriously injured. "Can't stay here," Lisa announced. "This site is too exposed. The smell of blood will attract more predators." Dr. Kane shook his head. "We're not leaving the ship. This is where rescue teams will look for us." "There won't be any rescue teams if we're all dead," Lisa shot back. She helped Paul sit up and gave him water to drink. The man was pale and weak, but he would survive if they could keep his wounds clean and prevent infection. "I found a cave system about 2 miles north of here," Lisa continued. "It's defensible and has fresh water nearby. We can make shelter there." "A cave," Dr. Kane said with disgust. "We're supposed to be building an advanced colony, not living like prehistoric humans." Lisa stood up and faced him directly. "Your advanced colony crashed and burned 3 days ago? Right now, we're just trying to stay alive long enough to see tomorrow." The argument was interrupted by another sound from the forest. This time it was a low, howling noise like wolves, but different. Other voices answered from different directions. The pack was communicating. Amanda moved closer to Lisa. "How many of them are there?" "I don't know," Lisa admitted. "But we need to get to better ground before dark." She started gathering supplies from the crash site. Food, medical equipment, tools, anything useful that wasn't too heavy to carry. Some of the others began helping her, but Dr. Kane and a few supporters refused to move. "This is insane," Dr. Kane declared. "We're scientists and engineers. We should be using our knowledge to solve problems, not running into the wilderness like frightened animals." Lisa stopped packing and looked at him. "Your knowledge is useless if you're dead. My grandmother taught me something when I was young. She said the smartest person is the one who's still breathing at the end of the day." Paul struggled to his feet with help from Amanda. "I vote we follow Lisa. She's the only one who seems to know what she's doing." Betty nodded in agreement. "The cave sounds safer than staying here." Dr. Kane looked around at the group. He was losing authority, and he knew it. People had listened to him because of his education and reputation. But education meant nothing to the alien predators hunting them. "Fine," he said finally. "But this is a mistake. We're abandoning our only hope of rescue." Lisa finished packing her makeshift backpack. "Hope doesn't keep you warm at night or fill your belly when you're hungry. We need to take care of ourselves." The group began the difficult journey through the alien forest. Paul had to be helped by 2 people, and everyone was carrying heavy packs. The trees were tall and thick, blocking out most of the sunlight. Strange sounds echoed around them as they walked. Lisa led the way, using skills her grandfather had taught her about tracking and navigation. She looked for water sources, safe camping spots, and signs of dangerous animals. Behind her, the academics stumbled through the underbrush, complaining about the heat and the weight of their supplies. But something was changing. Amanda asked Lisa to teach her how to identify edible plants. Betty wanted to learn how to build a proper fire. Even Dr. Kane began paying attention when Lisa explained how to read animal tracks in the soft ground. The cave system was better than Lisa had hoped. It was large enough for their group, with multiple chambers and a fresh water source. The entrance could be defended if necessary, and the location was hidden from casual observation as night fell. On their 4th day on the planet, Lisa stood guard at the cave entrance while the others slept. She could hear the predators moving through the forest, but they seemed to be keeping their distance from the cave. Amanda joined her at the entrance, unable to sleep because of the pain in her infected arm. "I owe you an apology," Amanda said quietly. "On the ship, I thought your skills were primitive and useless. I was wrong." Lisa smiled in the darkness. "But you weren't wrong about everything? I may know how to survive in the wilderness, but I don't understand quantum physics or stellar formation. We all have different knowledge, but your knowledge is keeping us alive right now." Lisa nodded. "Right now, yes. But we're going to need everyone's skills if we want to build something permanent on this planet. The trick is knowing when to use which type of knowledge." In the distance, something howled again. Lisa gripped her knife tighter and listened carefully to the night sounds. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight they were safe. For now, that was enough. 2 weeks had passed since they moved to the cave, and everything was different now. Lisa watched Dr. Kane carefully strip bark from a tree, following the technique she had taught him for making rope. His hands were rough and dirty, covered with small cuts from learning to work with primitive tools. The man who once wore clean lab coats and gave lectures to university students was now squatting in the mud, focused entirely on making something useful with his hands. "Like this?" Dr. Kane asked, holding up a section of twisted bark fibers. Lisa examined his work. "Good. Keep the tension even when you twist. We need strong rope for the trap lines." Amanda approached them, carrying a bundle of plants she had. Gathered, her infected arm had healed completely after Lisa found a local plant that worked better than their remaining antibiotics. Now Amanda could identify 12 different edible plants and knew which ones were poisonous to humans. "I found more of the red berries near the stream," Amanda reported. "Also some of those root vegetables that taste like potatoes." "Excellent," Lisa said. "Betty and Paul should be back soon with meat from the snares." The group had learned too, worked together in ways none of them had imagined on the ship. Betty, who had been a computer programmer, was now their best trap builder. Paul, despite his injuries, had become skilled at preserving meat and fish. Even the quieter members of the group had found important jobs. Dr. Kane finished his section of rope and started on another piece. "I've been thinking about the electromagnetic field," he said. "The intensity varies throughout the day. There's a pattern to it." Lisa looked up with interest. "What kind of pattern?" "Strongest during the day and weakest at night. But there are also longer cycles, maybe related to the planet's 3 moons. I think there might be brief periods when our electronic equipment could work." This was exactly what Lisa had hoped would happen. Dr. Kane was using his scientific knowledge to solve practical problems instead of just complaining about their situation. Amanda sat down beside them. "If we could get the radio working for even a few minutes, we might be able to contact other survivor groups or call for help from Earth," Dr. Kane added hopefully. Lisa nodded, but she was thinking about more immediate concerns. "First we need to expand our food storage. Winter is coming." She had noticed the signs over the past few days. The leaves on some trees were changing color. The air was getting colder at night. Some of the animals were behaving differently, as if they were preparing for a harsh season. "How do you know winter is coming?" Amanda asked. Lisa pointed to a tree near the cave entrance. "See how the sap is flowing differently? Look at the way those bird-like creatures are building their nests. They are gathering more materials than they need for normal weather." Dr. Kane looked where she was pointing. "I never would have noticed those things, because you weren't trained to look for them," Lisa said. "But now you're learning. That's how we survived this long." Yes. Their conversation was interrupted by voices from the forest. Betty and Paul were returning from their hunting trip, and they sounded excited about something. "Lisa, come quickly," Betty called. Lisa grabbed her knife and ran toward the voices, followed by Dr. Kane and Amanda. They found Betty and Paul standing next to a small clearing where someone had built a signal fire. The fire was still warm, but whoever had made it was gone. "Other survivors?" Paul said breathlessly. "They can't be far away." Lisa examined the fire carefully. The construction was good, designed to produce a lot of smoke with minimal fuel. Whoever built it knew something about wilderness survival. They used rocks from the creek bed, she observed, and this wood arrangement is very efficient. Someone taught them well. Dr. Kane was studying marks in the dirt around the fire. Footprints. At least 6 people, maybe more. Lisa smiled. Dr. Kane was learning to read signs that would have been invisible to him a month ago. "We should try to find them," Amanda suggested. "Larger groups are safer," Lisa agreed, but she was also cautious. "We need to be careful. Not all survivor groups might be friendly. Some people don't handle extreme stress very well." They spent the rest of the day following the trail left by the other group. Lisa taught the others how to read broken twigs, disturbed soil, and other signs that showed which direction people had traveled. The trail led to another cave system, about 3 miles from their own shelter. This one was larger and showed signs of long-term occupation. Someone had built proper sleeping areas, food storage spaces, and even a workshop for making tools. "Hello," Lisa called out. "We're survivors from the discovery we're looking for." "Other people?" a voice answered from deep in the cave. "Stay where you are. We're coming out." 6 people emerged from the cave, led by a woman about Lisa's age. The woman was carrying a spear made from salvaged ship materials, and she looked confident and alert. "I'm Carol Webb," the woman said. "I was the ship's botanist. These are the people from my section." Lisa introduced herself and her group. As they talked, she realized that Carol had taken a similar approach to survival. Instead of waiting for rescue, Carol's group had focused on learning practical skills and adapting to their environment. "We've been trying to contact other survivor groups," Carol explained. "We think there are at least 4 separate groups scattered across this region." Kane stepped forward. "Been studying the electromagnetic field patterns. I think we might be able to get radio equipment working during certain periods." Carol's eyes lit up with interest. "That would be incredibly helpful. We've been using smoke signals and trail markers, but radio would be much better." As the 2 groups shared information, Lisa felt hopeful for the first time since the crash. They were no longer just surviving day by day. They were beginning to build something larger and more permanent. Carol's group had made discoveries that Lisa's group hadn't. They had found a type of clay that could be used for making pottery. They had identified several plants that could be woven into cloth. They had even started experimenting with agriculture, planting seeds from earth plants in the alien soil. In return, Lisa's group shared their knowledge about food preservation, trap making, and weather prediction. Dr. Kane explained his theories about the electromagnetic field cycles, while Amanda discussed her observations about the planet's seasonal patterns. That night, the combined group of 17 people sat around a large fire, sharing food and planning for the future. Lisa listened as brilliant scientists discussed practical problems like building better shelters and developing sustainable food sources. "We're not just surviving anymore," Carol said to Lisa privately. "We're adapting. We're becoming something new." Lisa nodded, watching Dr. Kane demonstrate rope-making techniques to one of Carol's people, while Amanda taught plant identification to another group. "The old colony plan would never have worked," Lisa replied. "It was too dependent on technology, and too rigid. This is better. We're learning to work with this planet instead of trying to control it." As the fire burned low, Lisa felt a deep satisfaction. They had come so far from those first desperate days after the crash. The academics had learned to value practical skills, while she had learned to appreciate the power of scientific thinking applied to real problems. Tomorrow, they would continue building their new way of life, combining the best of human knowledge with the wisdom needed to survive in an alien world. 6 months after the crash, Lisa stood on a hill overlooking what they now called Haven Valley. Below her, smoke rose from cooking fires in 3 different settlements. Gardens filled with earth plants and local crops covered the valley floor. Children played in the streams while adults worked in workshops and fields. The rescue ship had arrived. 2 days ago, Captain Foster of the Earth vessel Meridian had expected to find desperate survivors begging to return home. Instead, he found thriving communities that politely declined his offer of evacuation. "I still can't believe you're staying," Captain Foster said, walking up the hill to join Lisa. "Earth has been planning this rescue mission for months. Everyone back home thinks you're all dead or dying." Lisa smiled, watching a group of teenagers practice hunting techniques that she had taught them. "You were dying for the first few weeks, but we learned to live instead." Down in the valley, Dr. Kane was teaching a class about electromagnetic field patterns to a mixed group of adults and children. Next to him, Amanda was showing students how to identify weather patterns using the planet's 3 moons. The lessons took place outdoors under the trees, with students sitting on logs and taking notes on pieces of bark. "But you have no advanced technology," Captain Foster continued. "No computers, no medical equipment, no communication systems." "Have some technology," Lisa corrected. Dr. Kane figured out how to use the electromagnetic field cycles to power essential equipment for short periods. "We have a radio that works 3 hours each day, medical scanners that operate during the quiet periods. There's even some manufacturing equipment that runs when conditions are right." The rescue captain shook his head in amazement. "But you're living in caves and wooden houses. You're making tools by hand. You're growing your own food. And we're happy," Lisa said simply. "Happier than most of us ever were on Earth." This was true. The colonists had discovered something unexpected during their struggle for survival. When people worked together toward a common goal, when everyone's contribution mattered, when success depended on both intelligence and practical skills, life became more meaningful. Captain Foster pulled out a datapad and showed Lisa some numbers. "Look at these statistics from Earth. Unemployment, depression, social problems. People feel disconnected from their work and their communities. What you've built here is actually solving problems we're struggling with back home." Lisa nodded. She had suspected this might be the case. The crash had forced them to abandon the hierarchies and specializations that often made people feel isolated and useless. Here, everyone was needed. Everyone contributed. Everyone mattered. A young girl ran up the hill toward them. This was Jenny, Dr. Kane's daughter, who had been only 8 years old when they crashed. Now she was 9 and could identify dozens of edible plants, track animals through the forest, and calculate the optimal angles for solar collectors using mathematics her father had taught her. "Lisa, Mom wants to know if you're coming to the council meeting," Jenny said. The council was another innovation that had emerged naturally from their survival experience. Instead of having one leader make all decisions, they had developed a system where different people led discussions about different topics based on their expertise and experience. "Tell her I'll be there in a few minutes," Lisa replied. Captain Foster watched Jenny run back down the hill with obvious athleticism and confidence. The children seem remarkably healthy and capable. "They're learning skills that will serve them for their entire lives," Lisa explained. "Not just academic subjects, but practical knowledge about how to solve real problems." As they walked down toward the valley, Captain Foster asked the question that Lisa had been expecting. "Why won't you come back to Earth, even for a visit?" Paused to consider her answer. "Because this is home now. We've built something here that's worth protecting and expanding." They passed a workshop where Betty was teaching teenagers how to build electronics that could function despite the electromagnetic interference. Next to it, Paul was working with a group to design better irrigation systems for their expanding farms. "Besides," Lisa continued, "Earth needs to learn from what we've discovered here. Not the technology, but the approach. The way we combine different types of knowledge. The way we make sure everyone has a purpose." The council meeting was held in the largest settlement's central building, which was a beautiful structure made from local wood and stone. The architecture was neither primitive nor high-tech, but something entirely new that worked perfectly for their environment and needs. Representatives from all 4 settlements were present, along with Captain Foster and several members of his crew. The topic for discussion was how to share their discoveries with Earth while protecting their new way of life. Dr. Kane stood to address the group. I propose that we send detailed reports back with Captain Foster's ship. Technical information about adapting to electromagnetic interference. Agricultural data about growing Earth crops in alien soil, and social observations about community organization. Carol, who had become the leader of the largest settlement, added her thoughts. We should also invite small groups of carefully selected Earth colonists to join us. People who want to learn our methods and contribute to what we're building. Amanda raised her hand. But we need to be selective. We can't have people coming here who expect to recreate Earth society. They need to understand that our way of life requires everyone to contribute both intellectually and physically. Lisa listened to the discussion with pride. These were the same people who had been helpless and frightened 6 months ago. Now they were confident leaders making complex decisions about their future. When it came time for her to speak, Lisa stood and looked around the room at faces that had become family. 6 months ago, we crashed on this planet as passengers and cargo, she said. Today, we're citizens of a new world that we built with our own hands and minds. We've proven that humans can adapt to anything when we combine our intelligence with practical wisdom. She turned to Captain Foster. Take our story back to Earth. Tell them that the real measure of human achievement isn't how advanced our technology becomes, but how well we can work together to build lives worth living. After the meeting, Lisa walked to her favorite spot. By the stream where she had first found clean water after the crash, the same stream now powered a small generator that Dr. Kane had built using salvaged ship parts and local materials. Amanda joined her as the sun set behind the alien mountains. Do you ever regret staying? Amanda asked. Lisa smiled, watching the lights come on in the settlements below. Some were electric lights powered by their improvised technology. Others were oil lamps made from local materials. The combination seemed perfect. Never, Lisa replied. On Earth, I was just someone with outdoor skills in a world that didn't value them. Here I'm part of something bigger. We all are. Captain Foster's ship departed the next morning, carrying reports and recordings that would change how Earth thought about colonization and community building. But Lisa barely watched it leave. She was too busy teaching a group of new students how to read the signs that predicted weather changes. The future stretched ahead of them, full of challenges and possibilities, but they would face it together, with both wisdom and knowledge, building something that had never existed before on any world.